Hi everyone, so today I'm back with another tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how I flock dolls. So if you don't know what the term flocking means, it's the hair on most of the time like male dolls, but also can be seen on female dolls with very short like buzz cuts. It's that very soft fuzzy hair that's not actually rooted into the doll, but rather applied with glue. So you'll see this commonly on Bratz boys. Older Bratz boys that haven't used flocking on them in quite some time. You'll see this on Monster High boys and Monster High girls like Venus McFlytrap, who has the side cut, Ever After High dolls, and a lot of the newer like fashionistas Barbies who have like the shaved heads, they have this too. A lot of African American dolls will have flocking, and it comes in different like textures and lengths, so not all flocking is exactly the same. So sometimes dolls will have like a shaggier look, and some dolls will have like a really clean, smooth finish. So I have two dolls here today. We have Claude Wolf and Secret Date Dylan. They both have some missing flocking, and I thought Claude was in real need of this. I'll show you an up-close view of him. His sideburns here are almost completely rubbed off. And Dylan I just grabbed for the sake of the video. He's not super bad, but he does have some missing flocking right at like the ends of his sideburns and kind of on the back of his head. So I thought I'd do him too, so you guys would have two examples. I've flocked dolls before. I used to play around with it a lot. You can even like use this on dolls that don't have flocking. So if you have a Bratz boy, say, that has like hair on the top of his head but then painted on the back, you can like add flocking if you want to make it look a bit like more expensive and fancier. I tried that out, but I ended up rinsing it all off at some point. I actually researched this technique for one of my vintage Ken dolls from 1961. The original Kens had flocking, and I got him pretty much completely bald at the flea market, and then I decided that I wanted to actually like go ahead and buy the like professional flocking kits, the doll restoration websites. So that's what I'm going to be using, but I'll talk about some alternatives you can do. So this is really easy, and depending on what kind of glue you use, this can be pretty reversible. So it might be good if you're just starting out to use like just regular Elmer's glue or something that you can wash off easily if you decide you don't like it, because this is kind of a process that takes some finesse. It's not hard, but it takes some finesse and practice. So without further ado, I'm going to show you. So this is an up-close view of Claude's burns. You can see he's missing most of them. And same with Dylan. It's harder to tell on Dylan, but like you can really tell on this side here. So these are the supplies you are going to need. So obviously you're going to need some kind of flocking. Now I don't know that you can buy this at regular craft stores. I know people use flocking sometimes to decorate like greeting cards and things. You know, you'll get like those greeting cards that have like a fuzzy texture. I bought mine from restoredall.com, and these are like the vintage Ken colors. So if you're wanting to do this to like a vintage Ken, then I definitely recommend going to that website, because these are made to match. So we have mahogany, we have charcoal, and we have Ken Blonde. I don't remember how much this stuff cost. My dad bought this for me like back in 2011, so the price might be different now. I don't think it was more than like 20 bucks to have all three of these shipped. But I was recently watching a video, and I saw someone using like yarn that they cut up really small and like different kinds of fabric. So I think yarn would be really ideal, because when you cut up yarn into tiny shreds, it has that like fuzzy texture, whereas fabric might be harder to make look like that. But anything that you can make fuzzy and fluffy looking, that would be ideal. But if you want like a really short, like smooth buzz cut finish, this stuff from restoredall.com is really nice, and it also is high quality. So I will put like a direct link to this kit below if they still have it. Then you're going to need some kind of glue. I've used like just regular Elmer's glue in the past, but it's not that durable, and if you get the doll wet, it's probably going to come off. So I'm going to try this glue all out, since it's supposed to be extra strong. I've tried other kinds, but it's really hard to find like a good glue that is durable but also not like hard to work with. And then I have some paint brushes here of different sizes depending on where I'm applying it. then you're gonna need some kind of like paper plate or piece of paper, because when you flock the doll, you're gonna have a bunch of extra flocking fall off when you're applying it, and this way you can just kind of fold the paper up or the paper plate and put the unused portion back into your jar. Even if you're like using just yarn, if you spend that time cutting it up, you can just save the unused portion in a jar for next time or for like a later touch-up. And then this is the thing that Colleen actually came up with. So this is an old empty salt shaker. This is how I find that applying the flocking works best for me. I pour the flocking in here, and then I just shake it out, and it gives like a more even coating, and then I just use my fingers to kind of pat it down over the glue. So that is a really handy hack if you have trouble spreading it out evenly. So I'm going to start with Dylan, because he's going to be a little bit easier to do. So for the colors I'm using, Claude has more of a reddish undertone, so I'm going to use the mahogany on him, but I'm going to use the charcoal on Dylan. It's not going to be an exact match texture-wise or color-wise, but that's because this is just like a patch that I'm doing. I'm not doing the whole head. So if you're doing the entire head, it's going to look a lot better. And also, sometimes with these like flocked dolls, they get like fuzzies on the back of their head, like lint really gets caught up there. So if you just want to like kind of use a dry toothbrush to sweep off any extra debris that might be on there, it works really well. And also I recommend that if you want to give your doll a hair wash, because both Claude and Dylan have rooted hair in addition to flocked hair, definitely wash their hair first and let it dry, and like boil wash them, whatever it is you want to do before you fix the flocking, or you know, put all flocking on it, because you don't want to be getting things like wet right after you apply it, because like I said, this isn't as sturdy as factory flocking. This can be removed without much work, so just keep that in mind. So I'm going to open up my salt shaker. A little bit in here, I don't need much. There's like a few different ways. You could put the glue on a separate little dish and dip your brush in and paint it on that way. You can put it directly on your brush, which is what I'm going to do. Don't worry if it's not perfect looking, because before this dries you can wipe it up really easily with just like a damp Q-tip, and you can skim all of the like hairline to make it perfect. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to shake it out. And you can see I've undressed my boys for this. Excuse the nudity, but this is kind of a messy process and I didn't want flocking all over their stuff. So then I'm just going to pat. And then this is also where the toothbrush can come in handy. And just gently wipe off the excess. And there you go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these pointed Q-tips. I'm just going to get it a little bit wet. And I'm just going to go along his hairline. It was really that easy, and he has good coverage now, even though I just did one pass. So I do want to say that on a lighter haired doll, that needs more layers, because you're not going to get as good coverage with a lighter color. I had that problem with my vintage Ken doll. I ended up making him a brunette instead, because I was so new to flocking that I didn't know how to layer it up enough. If this wasn't enough coverage, you wait until it dries, and then you add more glue, and then you sprinkle more flocking on, and you build it. It's buildable. So then I'm going to flip him to the back here, and I'm just going to repeat this process. And if you feel like you want to clean up the glue before you put the flocking on, that might make your life a little bit easier. And then we're just going to repeat. So I'm going to repeat this to Dylan's other side, and I'll check in with you when I'm doing Claude. So I'm done with Dylan. This is all of the flocking that I didn't actually get on his head that was like extra. So this is where having a piece of paper or a paper towel comes in handy. Just going to funnel it back in. And then any unused portion that's still in here. If you notice here, Claude has a lot of bald spots in his flocking, and there's this gap here. This gap here is intentional, so I'm not going to fill that in. This is how he actually came, with like a little slit in his sideburns. So we're going to keep that intact. Once you have all the flocking attached to the dolls and they've been sitting for a while, sometimes it's good just to go with a damp cloth and wipe up around their faces and the backs of their necks and their ears, obviously being mindful of the flocking, just to get any off the doll's body from shaking it all over. Okay, so this is what Dylan looks like all done. I did the very bottom of his hairline too back here. The flocking blends pretty well with his original stuff. It's just a little bit more gray in color. And then Claude, it's a more noticeable difference, but it looks a lot better than being bald. I hope this video helped you guys out. Like I said, there's a lot of different products you can use instead of the actual flocking. That just happens to be what I had on hand, and I will say that for me this has lasted a long time. And like I said, you can build this up if your doll is very bald or if the doll has like a lighter hair color. And that being said, on some dolls it might be smart to paint their head if their paint is in really bad shape and you want to cover it with flocking, because that will also give it more coverage. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, love your dolls, love yourself, and love your life.